Okay, so this is the third or fourth picture during the my Open Studios event for 2020, not Open Studios, and this is pen and watercolour. It was a series of 3 that we did, workshops. This was the first one. This was now completed and framed. This was a view of the River Colne with Huddersfield and Castle Hill in the background. And this was the second, a view of Venice, done exactly the same way, pen and watercolour. Quite intense, this one, done with a little bit more sort of watercolour work on it than the previous one. And this is our final one, which is the figure study. What we do is we obviously draw it in first and then we apply ink. I do this very carefully. I keep all my lines, like I do in drawing, moving in one direction more or less, to try and describe the form. I don't cross hatch. I don't like cross hatching very much. Once I'm happy with the pen drawing, then I apply very thin kind of washes of watercolour over the top. But really the pen work is doing most of the kind of forming, with just a little bit of kind of shaping with the sort of variation of light to dark in the watercolour, but not too strong, just fairly pale. Okay, so I'm in the process of finishing this part of the body off, putting this leg in, and then I'm going to come across and do the feet. And although I've done most of this, you'll still have an opportunity of seeing how I can approach doing the sort of drawing work, if you like, and then the watercolour. I'm using, at the moment, this is a uni pen. This is a fade-proof black pen, number 2. I actually prefer to use dip pens, but the dip pen was not quite fine enough for the work that I want to do on here. So I'm just using this, and I'm just building it up, bringing it down this leg across here. Just creating a bit of form. So this wants to be just a little bit stronger on the edge. Like drawing, I just keep going backwards and forwards over it until I get to the sort of density that I want it to be, or dark enough. I don't want to start with a definite line. I just want to sort of shade it in first, and then if I'm happy with it, then I can put a more definite line in later. But more often than not, definite line isn't actually required. And in this instance, we need to bring the leg out just a little bit more. So I've got a line there, I would have been stuck really, because I wouldn't have been able to adjust this. So I'm bringing this across here, just widening it slightly. Bring this down just a little bit lower into the bottom here. Okay, so that's basically how I do the drawing work with a pen. What I'll do is I'll continue finishing this bit off, and then probably what I'll do is come back and then show you this, which basically has got very little drawing in it. Just show you how to finish that off. But at the moment I'm just going to build this up until I get the leg as I want it to be, and then apply a little bit more watercolour, but I'll do that probably when I finish the feet. Okay, so I'll just finish this off and then we'll come back and have a look at this bit. Okay. Okay, so I'm a bit happy with the leg now. I've finished this, got a little bit of shading to do. I've also put some hands in here on the arms. They were a bit kind of unfinished. And I've just roughly sketched in the toes and things on the fingers. So I'm going to do some pen work now. Like I said before, I'm using a waterproof, lightproof ink. I do actually prefer, as I said before, dip pens, but the problem with working on this is watercolour paper. Actually, it probably would have been better on Bristol board, to be perfectly honest, because what happens is the sizing in the paper actually stops the ink and pencil adhering. So it's actually quite difficult to get anything quite strong with ink or pencil on a watercolour paper. But as it is, we don't want all the lines to be too strong or to be built up quite subtly. So in fact, they're probably working all right for them. So I'm going to come around here and do the toe. Just draw this in. I'm going to just line it in just a little bit so I know roughly where I'm working. Now I'm going to start doing some shading. So I'm going to bring the shading round the bottom of the foot like this, bring this bit out, and along the toe. Again, all the directions are going, all the pen marks are going in one direction. I'll just keep going backwards and forwards over it until I get it, the tone about where I want it to be. heel I think actually wants to be about there. I've made a little bit of a mistake here. I'm going to rectify this. I'm going to draw this in its correct position. I've just realised the foot's not quite the right shape. Bring this back into the heel here. So I'm going to have to just alter that a little later. You can do this. Alterations on this is not easy, but you can either gently scrape stuff away or you can actually use acrylic. I have used acrylic in parts here just to take down where I've overpainted it with the background colour to get the colour back again. And be careful with acrylics. And the thing about acrylics is that you can watercolour over the top of them. So if you need to do a bit of colouring in here, that's still possible. And it will be the same down here when we come to do this. So I'm going to gradually work into the other foot, bit of shading around it. So we're bringing this other foot out. Bring the shading across, get a little bit more shape to the foot here. Building the shading up, making it a bit darker. Put a little bit of shading into the nail here and around the and into the opposite toe, just indicate it where it is. And there's would obviously be another one behind that. A little bit of shading there, and so on down. We've got sort of most of the foot in place. Okay. Like I say, we don't really want to overwork this too much. I want to do a little bit of work here. We've got this toe in here. This is the little toe, obviously, because it's the outside of the foot. Just mark these other toes in. You can see much of the far side of the foot where the big toe is. So we'll just lose that into the kind of shadow. And I'm going to put some shadow sort of underneath the foot. When I do the shadow underneath the foot, I keep all the marks horizontal like this. And what it does is it creates a kind of flat surface. If you do them like that, it tends to make the surface look a bit sloping, but we obviously want this to be flat. So we're going to keep the marks horizontal like this. And the darkness of the shading is going to bring out the sort of shape of the foot a little bit. I've got some bit around the ankle here. And back of the heel. A bit of shape to the leg. Sort of where the muscle is, they'll be coming up the bones. There'll be a little bit of a kind of dip here. Just put a little bit of shading in there just to create this, bring it down into the ankle. A bit more shading around the muscle, calf. So as I said before, we've obviously made a mistake with that. I'm going to show you just how I rectify that. I've got my acrylics here. I'm going to mix up a bit of the flesh colour and just paint it in like this over the top. You have to do this a couple of times because you're going to have to wait for this to dry, because obviously it's going to be not covered it sufficiently. So I'm going to put one coat on. Just leave it to dry, and then I'll come back and do some more. So I've got a little bit of work to do on the fingers. So a little bit of shading around the hand here. A little bit of shading under the fingers, just to define them a little bit. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll come back, just tidy this up, and then I'll come back and do a little bit of sort of finishing off, and we'll just have a quick discussion about the background and finishing the table off, the whatever she's sitting on, table and cloth. Okay, so I'll come back and do that in a little while. Okay. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with the drawing now and the shading. I've sorted out most of the feet and stuff like that. What I'm going to do now is finish the colouring. Most of the colour I'm going to be using really is just burnt sienna, maybe a bit of raw sienna or yellow ochre. But I want to put a little bit more colour in here, a little bit more shading, a little bit more sort of tone, and a little bit on the legs here and here because they haven't got any colour. Maybe a little bit more on the arms. Not much more, but just a little bit more, just to sort of finish this bit off. It needs a little more sort of work at the back here. First of all, I'm using sable, obviously watercolours. I'm going to wet the area that I want to be working in first, thoroughly. All over down here. I don't want any sort of lines, I want it going softly. Softening some of this other colour that's here. And I'm going to get my burnt sienna, start at the top here, just run it in gently along the edge, careful, there's blue on there. Just a little bit stronger. To the hip, colour around a bit more. Again, get my brush, clean it, just rub it in gently. So you can see we're getting a little bit more sort of shape there. I do the same with the arm. Put a little bit of water on here first, just soften it in. Some more burnt sienna. Clean my brush, rub it in gently. Okay, that's getting better. I'll do a little bit more to the leg, I think. This part and that part. So I'm going to put some water in here, a bit of water in here, and to the foot. Because we haven't done much with this in terms of colour. Small burnt sienna. Again, clean brush, just wipe some of this out, soften it in. In darker areas I'm putting just a little bit stronger colour. I'm going to wash them out in a moment. Okay, so you can see the kind of effect that the watercolour is having. It's kind of softening the ink work and giving a little bit more form to it, a little bit more light and shade. I'll do a little bit more here. A bit more around the foot. And then we've got this foot to do as well, so we need a little bit of colour just coming around it. Let's put the foot here. So again, I'm going to wash this out. Okay, so I'll leave it there. What I'm going to do next is just to finish off the background. Still a bit ragged, not bad. That bit's not too bad. Want a bit of shading over here. I want some sort of variation because the cloth is dropping off the edge there, so I want a little bit maybe shading coming down through here. And this part of the background here, which I'm going to do first, that needs some work. You can still see the guidelines through it, and I think I'll sort of darken it in from that edge, lighten it towards the figure, and darken it down towards the bottom, so it's kind of a bit more silhouetted. But so far with the figure, with the colouring, I've become probably fine. I don't think I'll do much more to that. Okay, so I'll just tidy up and then I'll get ready for doing this background, and then we'll come back and have a look at that. Okay. Okay, as you can see, I've turned the painting upside down. The reason I've done this is because I want the water to kind of run away from the figure. I don't want it to run into it. I'm going to put it on fairly wet. So I'm going to have to wet all this area from here, from where the cloth starts. I'm using a number 24. I'm not using a flat brush because I want to be able to cut into, so I'm using a normal pointy brush. Although I'm not going to change this much, I want to fade it out into this area, so it's got to be wet. I can do that. Make sure the whole area is nice and wet all over. Very important. Even into these bits. See, there's still some dry stuff in there. And the other thing you mustn't forget about is these bits in here, because of course they've got to be the same colour. Okay, so I've got my blue. This is phthalo blue and cobalt. I think it wants a little bit of green in with that. So gradient. So I'm going to take it from here. Obviously cut in carefully around all these bits. Important. Work quickly. So you have to work quite quickly to do this. But as I said before, I want to kind of fade it into the body, so I'm going to turn the painting around again in a minute and bring the colour in from this top corner and just wash it out towards the figure. So I'll turn it around now. Okay. Get a wet brush, just wet along these edges, tidy up any bits that have not taken. Run this into the back here. Like I say, just be careful because the water is now going to run down. I'm going to try my brush off. I'm going to put a little bit of colour in here and in here. I'm going to get some more dark, stronger blue. I'm waiting for this top corner. A kind of circular motion like this. So it's forming a kind of arc around there. Go back at these edges because they're stopping, they're hardening off before they should do. I want this just to again lift off anything that comes down. It shouldn't actually run into the dry areas, but you have to be careful. Complete the running of the colour around the head into the other part. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that. Tidy up this bit, I'll put a little mark there. Okay, so that's fine for the background. Now what we're going to do here is going to slightly different colour. I'm going to wet this edge here all the way along there. And this time I'm going to use more like an ultramarine and cobalt. I'm just going to drop the colour along the edge like this. Just flick the odd bits down again from here. Bring it all the way along there. I'm going to clean my brush, I'm going to run some water along the top here. Create the edge. Then allow this to drift down into the, go along and wet the sort of. I'm going to soften this edge out because it's obviously not a line, so I'm going to just get a clean brush, wipe along the back here, take some of the colour back up into the top of the cloth, these areas. Clean brush, water, run this down. It's important that we establish this edge, we don't lose it. Like here, it's running away a bit too much, going to put a bit more colour in there. Add a bit more colour around the back here where it's darker, there's a bit more shadow on this back part. And soften it in around the bottom. So hopefully it's still wet, it should just bleed out slightly. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to do much more to this. I'm going to put a little bit of darker blue sort of along the bottom here. Where the shadows are. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'll leave that. You know, it's always difficult to know when to stop, he says. Just doing this bit here where it's run off the edge. Just pull it down to the bottom there. That's going to cause a cauliflower. Never mind, because I'm going to the other. So I'm not going to mess about with it anymore. I'm just going to leave it. Otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. What I will do is I'll just do this little bit here where the colour hasn't come right up to the leg. Just wet it gently. And pull some of that colour just into the leg there a bit more. It's better. Here, add a bit more colour. Okay. So that's it. So I'll leave it to dry off and then I'll come back and have another sort of chat about this. Okay, just before we end. Okay, so I've just added a little bit more colour here and there, not very much, just to make it a bit more even, get the bit more tone. So all that's left to do is sign it. Now this painting was done, or based on a drawing, charcoal drawing, pastel drawing by an artist called P. Wootton, probably about the 1930s, 2030s. So I will acknowledge him on this. I will sign my name, but I will put after P. Wootton. I don't know him. I have tried to look him up, but I can't find any reference to him. But anyway, so I'll sign it down here, and I will put after P. Wootton on there. So I've acknowledged him. Okay, which I think is quite important. You know, it was his work originally. And although it's different in the sense that it's different medium and everything, nevertheless it's come from him. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's anything you want to ask me about this, please ring me on 07802 758 430, or you can get me on my website, max.neale, Neale, at btinternet.com, and I'll explain anything that you might want to know about the video. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.